Coming up on News 2, it's all systems go for the Water and Power Authority and its new fuel supplier. What does this mean for consumers, or more important, your power bills? A former Board of Election candidate submitted a challenge because she felt her petition for a recount was denied unfairly. And she also believes there was a conflict of interest. Details. Plus, the VI National Park on St. John is installing 14 new big boat moorings. Hello, welcome, and thanks for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gamansing. Well, it's all systems go for the Water and Power Authority and its new fuel supplier, Trafigura. WAPA announced on Monday that it's already received 2 shipments of 30,000 barrels and expects to have an 80,000 barrel delivery by the middle of December. So what does this new supplier mean for consumers? And what's in store for your power bills? News 2's Alison Born-Vanek has that story.
Hovenza is out and Trafigura is now in as the Water and Power Authority's new fuel supplier. But what does that mean for consumers? WAPA says that first, it eliminates uninterrupted service, and secondly,
the second change is that as Hovenza was transitioning to no longer offering the discount as required in the third extension, the month of December, for example, there was no discount in the fuel they provided. Matter of fact, the last invoice I saw had a price somewhere around $147 a barrel. This new contract with Trafigura is going to be lower than that cost. So it won't be as low as what we paid Hovenza in the past when we had a significant subsidy, but this contract will be lower than what Hovenza would be charging in December.
But while Trafigura is lower than Hovenza's market value costs, what about that significant change consumers saw in their power bills?
The increase that everybody saw in the last quarter of this year was primarily the jump of going from below market to market pricing already.
For future WAPA prices, WAPA must first file a request to the Public Services Commission, which sets the rate, and that rate could be going up.
What I can see where the price of oil going, it's more likely going to be somewhere around a 5% increase. But I can't tell you where it's going to be because I don't set the rates. It's set by the Public Service Commission. They'll analyze the data. They'll make projections as far as where they think the price of oil is going, and they'll look at all what the numbers are, where the units are performing, and they'll set a rate based on that.
The next hearing is scheduled for the end of December. Alison Born-Vanek, News 2.
News 2 will keep you updated on the next PSC hearing and changes in WAPA prices. Well, Tuesday is the last day for St. Thomas St. John candidates to submit their appeal to district court, while Monday was the deadline on St. Croix. Krista Schluterman, a former Board of Election candidate, submitted a challenge yesterday because she felt her petition for a recount was denied unfairly. Schluterman's petition asked for a recount because ballots were found after they were supposedly counted. She also believes there was a conflict of interest.
It was a conflict of interest for Lisa Harris-Moorhead to be the person who made the motion to deny my request when they had a full quorum and any other board member could have made that motion. Why is it the one candidate who was running against me, who is a current board member, is the one who made the motion to deny my request?
In some other news, not to be confused with the VI Water and Power Authority's project of building mooring bollards, the VI National Park in St. John is installing 14 new big boat moorings. The goal of the park is to eventually become anchorless, and this is one step closer to doing that, according to park officials. News 2's Erica Bivens tells us where these moorings are going and when boaters will be able to use them.
The VI National Park is in the process of installing 14 new big boat moorings in the park and monument by St. John with the help of the Friends.
The Friends of the Park has been involved in the mooring program with Virgin Islands National Park since the late 90s. We helped install about 200 overnight moorings in 10 bays throughout the park. All of the moorings were all for boats up to 60 feet.
The part that was missing, according to Joe Kessler, was moorings for vessels longer than 60 feet in length. The new ones they're installing will be similar to the moorings you see behind me in the harbor, except they'll be able to accommodate vessels up to 100 feet in length.
4 will be installed in the Honeymoon Solomon area, 1 at Hawk's Nest, 4 at Francis Bay, Maho Bay, 2 at Leinster Bay, 2 at Lamashire Bay, and then 1 at Princess Bay is only for day use.
To make this project possible, $70,000 came from private donors of Friends of the Park. Another $40,000 came from the VI National Park.
I mean, from the boater experience, that's a big improvement. It's safer, it's more secure. once you're tied up, you don't have to worry about your anchor slipping, during the night, or if the wind comes up or the wind changes direction.
And it's also better for the environment.
Mooring fields that have been denuded of seagrass are now basically, a rich carpet of seagrass, and you've seen turtles return and all the other creatures that inhabit the seagrass, ecosystem.
It's also part of the larger plan to becoming an anchorless park.
In order to slowly but steadily place more moorings in more locations so that a lot of users could still access the park, but do so without dropping an anchor.
For News 2, I'm Erica Bivens.
The big boat moorings are being installed the first 2 weeks in December. For more information, you can call the park at 693-8950. Public Works Commissioner Darrell Small says construction projects across the territory are on schedule and many nearing completion. Smalls provided an update on some of the St. Thomas road work for the motoring public. News 2's Erica Parsons has more.
During a public update, Public Works Commissioner Darrell Smalls acknowledged that the restoration of the Rothschild Francis Market Square has been challenging for motorists and businesses in the area, but he said that the work is on schedule and on budget, and most of the roads that were closed are open again.
The only road that is closed as we speak today is from the 75 corner going east to the what we call the green corner. At this particular time, the reconstruction effort in that particular area is going to entail the installation of water lines, the drainage system, the electrical duct banks.
Small says that landscaping, streetscaping, signage, and new traffic signals are all that's left to be done for Market Square, and the Long Bay project is in its final phase as well.
This fourth and final phase essentially is going from the Mandela Circle intersection to the entrance of the West Indian Company. If you drive through the area, you'll notice a number of barricades and work effort that's ongoing there, where we're installing much underground drainage structures to alleviate all of the flooding that has occurred in that entire Havenside area.
When all that is complete, Commissioner Small says 2 more lanes will be added to create a 4-lane roadway expected to ease the traffic between Havenside and downtown Charlotte-Amalie.
The scope of this work is not only the drainage and underground, but to increase the existing 2 lanes to 4 lanes from Mandela Circle to the entrance of the West Indian Company. So at the end of the day, we will have 4 lanes going into the West Indian Company, 2 southbound, 2 northbound. We'll have turning lanes, traffic signal at the entrance to the West Indian Company.
Erica Parsons, News 2.
Commissioner Smalls also provided updates on the North Side and Rappoon Hill projects on St. Thomas. He also talked about the culmination of the Christiansted bypass and said they plan to send out RFPs for an island-wide paving project on St. Croix. Well, as the fiscal cliff deadline approaches, there are no meetings scheduled between President Obama and House Speaker John Boehner, the 2 men who must find common ground before any deal is reached to prevent year-end tax hikes. Danielle Nottingham has the latest from Washington.
House Speaker John Boehner offered an update this afternoon on talks to avoid the fiscal cliff.
We're still waiting for the White House to identify what spending cuts the president is willing to make as part of the balanced approach that he promised the American people.
In terms of spending cuts, we're on the record having voted for about $1.6 trillion.
Boehner and Republicans want to preserve all tax rates, but the president is insisting on a tax increase for households making more than $250,000. Democrats will most likely have to bend when it comes to government spending, but many are resisting proposed changes to Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
It would be fundamentally unfair and unwise to tell people who paid in a lifetime to Social Security and Medicare, now you don't get your benefits.
Until the president gets specific about cuts, nobody should trust Democrats to put a dime in new revenue toward real deficit reduction.
Without a compromise, taxes for all Americans will go up, and across-the-board spending cuts will kick in on January 1st. And this all comes during the critical holiday shopping season. Retailers say the uncertainty is bad for business.
Our members report that some of their businesses are starting to be impacted by the extended negotiations.
The stalemate is also threatening the fragile job market. Retailers say they'll be forced to cut workers if sales are weak. Danielle Nottingham, News 2.
Congressional leaders have already warned their members not to make any holiday travel plans until a deal is reached. Keeping our eye on the economy, Delta Airlines is buying Singapore Airlines, 49% stake in Virgin Atlantic Airlines for $360 million. Some 51% of Virgin Atlantic is owned by Richard Branson. A Delta partnership with Virgin would allow Delta to expand its London to New York flights. And Superstorm Sandy was a bad bet for Atlantic City. In other news, the storm led to the biggest monthly drop in casino revenue since casino gambling began there 34 years ago. Closures sent revenue plunging nearly 28. This is the New York Stock Exchange with Scotiabank Stock Market Watch. The Dow, Nasdaq, S&P all up. The Dow 78, Nasdaq 34, S&P 9. Coming up on News 2, WAPA'S celebrates 100 years. We were there for the recognition ceremony and kickoff of all the fun that continues tonight. Meanwhile, calling it a breath of fresh air, the Carnival breeze cruised into St. Thomas. We went on board the vessel for inaugural celebration. 100 years of service was celebrated and recognized at the West Indian Company Limited on Tuesday. Employees, management, and dignitaries came out to support the milestone achievement of the 100-year-old company. WAPA goes back to 1912 when it was founded by a consortium of Danish businessmen. President and CEO of WAPA, Joe Bushelty, spoke about the history and achievements of WAPA over the last century.
Back in 1912, Mr. Anderson of the Asian company came and set up a shop here in the St. Thomas, which was a part of the Danish West Indies. And they basically came over to set up and provide provisioning, refueling, and bunkering for the ships that were coming from Europe to go to the Panama Canal. And over the years, we have evolved into a premier cruise ship port. Back in the 20s, it helped, it was a partner with Esso, so it helped provide fuel throughout the region. And also, we also had one piece of information that most people don't know. Is part of the charter of WAPA back when it was established was to help provide electricity to Charlotte Amalie. So we've done many different things over the years, over 100 years in our community, and our hope is to continue to do many more things for the next 100 years.
Meanwhile, another WAPA celebration, Carnival Cruise Line's Carnival Breeze made its inaugural visit to St. Thomas on Tuesday. Government officials, including representatives from the Department of Tourism and the VI Taxi Association, gave plaques of appreciation to ship captain Vincenzo Alcaras, who in return also gave plaques of appreciation from the ship.
It's a great privilege, as I said before. It started many years ago with other ship of Carnival to come in St. Thomas, and I hope we're going to do many of these voyages here in St. Thomas. We have the sushi bar, which is a great restaurant. We have the Cucina del Capitano up on deck 11, and we have a different type of alternative restaurants and lines up at the Lido deck. Thank you very much for your hospitality in St. Thomas.
The Coastal Zone, St. Thomas Coastal Zone Management Committee will be holding a public hearing Thursday to discuss a CZM application for a dolphin exhibit at Coral World, as News 2 previously mentioned. But local animal rights activists are strongly opposed to the idea, saying no to captive dolphins. They're asking residents and off-island supporters to write letters to CZM letting them know they won't spend their tourist dollars in the VI if Coral World is allowed to open the dolphin exhibit. Thursday's hearing will be held at 6 p.m. at the Eudorican High School. If you love a spicy storyline with men, women, and money, then you won't want to miss a premiere screening of The Root of All Evil. The Crucian movie production is a first-time effort by vocalist Harella Goodwin and will be shown Sunday, December 16th at 5 p.m. at Victorious Believers Church. Here's more.
When all hope is gone, you can trust God. And for single women out there and you know Christ, don't leave God. Stay with God and watch Him work it out for you. And that's the whole thing. It's the premiere. And you know, premiere, it's expensive to go to a premiere. But we're only asking $7 for adults and $3 for children. However, you must pick up your tickets before Sunday because we have limited space available.
Be sure to check that out. A new study shows an increasing number of children are undergoing CT scans, MRIs, and other diagnostic imaging procedures, including ones that carry a potential cancer risk. Vanita Nea reports from New York.
Let's check you out, okay?
Grace Hickson's great-grandson, Andre, had his first x-ray when he was just 1.5 years old.
He couldn't breathe, and I took him to another doctor, took x-ray, and that's when they told me he had pneumonia.
A new study in the journal Pediatrics finds the number of children who have undergone diagnostic imaging scans, including x-rays, MRIs, CT scans, and ultrasounds, has increased significantly over the past 9 years. Higher radiation procedures like CT scans rose 34% during the study. The findings raise concern because other studies have linked radiation exposure to increased risk of cancer.
Children are all growing, so their cells are rapidly replicating, and so that means they're more at risk for radiation than an adult.
Imaging procedures with higher levels of radiation were most typically performed at the hospital or in emergency room settings. Researchers didn't determine how much of the imaging was truly necessary. Health experts say parents should question their child's doctor before agreeing to any scan.
Ask them, well, how much radiation does that involve? And is the test really necessary?
Hickson says she was aware of the radiation risk, but felt the test needed to be done.
Unfortunately, a lot of times children have to have x-ray to find out exactly what's wrong.
She says she tries to do whatever is best for Andre's health. Vanita Nair for CBS News, New York.
The study found the 3 most common reasons for scans were abdominal pain, headache, and head injury. Stick around. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.